every one of those designs?
Yes.
Okay, that's good, because I mean, that's been the biggest failure that we've suffered, is not being able to move water out from under the road, so.
Right, and like a lot of the curbs, some of the newer stuff will, are good, so we're just talking pavement will be replaced, so there'll be cost savings there. So.
I mean, as long as you can end up tying and getting rid of the water underneath it, yeah, right, okay, all right. That's essentially all I had. I kind of agree with Maggie. I think that most people are going to end up recognizing the benefit they're going to enjoy might not end up being immediate to them right off the gates, but certainly the community as a whole is going to end up seeing, it'll swell by all the improvements that come by that, and the values of our community will end up soaring because we're finally attending to roads that haven't been touched in 20 years, so.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy.
So, Mike, you mentioned that, I assume what Councilmember Kivel's referring to is the under street drainage where it's carrying the water away to some other receptacle to move that water, and that's the standard, construction standard for the newer subs.
Yes.
Okay, how far back? How recently have we been doing that?
I'd have to look at the exact date.
Just ballpark. I mean, is it 2 years, 5 years, 10 years?
It's 15 years.
15 years, okay.
1998.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yep,
So
1998.
the other question I have is, so we're looking at that federally funded road, Pontiac Trail, for Pontiac Trail in 2026. Is that going to apply to McMunn and Dorothy Street that are also federally funded? Are we going to have to wait to 2026 to address those two roads?
You'll wait beyond the,
Because the calls
I
are,
mean, everybody here knows what kind of condition
right.
Dorothy Street is by the historic village, and also McMunn, especially after doing the water plant project there. When are we going to be able to address those two roads?
The next time there's a call for projects on the federal fund, the federal aid committee, those will be
2026.
It'll be after that.
After that.
And we tried to apply for that a couple years ago. Mike and I worked on a plan to try to get funds for that, and we're turned down.
So what's our interim plan?
We don't have one because there's only so much road money to go, and this is how we're concentrating on that. That is another section of road to try to get federal funds if we can, but this is trying to address, subdivision.
We need to do something with those two roads. I mean, they're terrible.
Well, we have $40+ million worth of work.
I understand that.
So we're-
But, I mean, those roads are probably, if you look at the Pazer study, you got to be right at the top of the list. And to say we're going to wait another 5-10 years isn't very realistic. I don't know if there's other avenues that can be pursued or not, Paul. That's all I'm saying is we need to be looking for that.
As Mike mentioned, we will try to apply for that, but you see other roads, 95% of our roads are in poor condition. We have to start someplace.
No, I understand that.
If you take that out and decided to use these funds for those roads, you can forget all these subdivisions.
No, I understand that. I just,
the tough thing with federal aid roads is, it goes in, it's a contest to see who gets the money, right? And so the roads that have the highest per day vehicle use move up, they get higher ranks. So it's unfortunate that those are horrible roads, but they don't get the vehicle traffic that a Pontiac Trail does, or the vehicle traffic that Novi Road does in downtown Novi. So you're competing against some very heavily used roads.
well, I'm
We'll apply
certainly
for
not
them in the
looking
future,
to
but yeah, that's
divert the money from Pontiac Trail by any means.
Yeah.
What I am looking at is the fact we had $100,000 to do McMunn probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it went by the wayside because the council couldn't act on it fast enough. And so we're here where we are today, and we're here where we're going to be 5-10 years down the road if we don't have other opportunities come to pass, that's all.
There's always a chance that there's more money available to the federal aid committee. That could be a way to jump in line. They'll have to come from federal government.
Yep.
And I think your main point is don't forget that those are shit roads.
Exactly.
And that they are not really listed as part of our current bond thing.
Summed it up nicely, Alex. Thanks.
Well, and just allow me to jump in just really quickly. Like, it's not like we're trying to say hard luck on any one of these roads. I think facts are coming across pretty clear that we really, really need this. We need to get the information out to folks so we can start this process, because it is not going to get any better. And the looks of things, the way things are right now, it's only going to get more expensive. So I didn't mean to jump in to end the conversation there, but does anyone else have anything for Roland and the team here? Councilor Kimball, go ahead.
Mostly just, the other side of the argument is a difficult one to make, that you're, the only people that would end up really being able to hold that and have a real purchase is if you're really struggling financially, and that is really beyond your means. I mean, that's going to be a very difficult thing for people to get past. But outside of that, everybody else, if you don't see the light, man, you don't have too many lights on in your head, because this is just as evident as imaginable.
Well, and I think that's really what I was just trying to say, is I'm appreciating the bluntness of the conversation, and that this isn't going to fix everything. And so, as someone said earlier, I don't know that many of us will still be here when this is done, but maybe this is step 1 of 2 or 3, once we get to the end of it. But
it's actually a continuous thing, I mean, we end up getting off the train, and we've been hurt by that badly.
But I think you're absolutely right. I think it may not be this large of a project, but there's got to be a commitment to a more impactful amount of money to be able to do this.
Just smaller bites in the future once things are attended to.
So, yeah, it is unfortunate that we have to climb Everest out of the pit. No, I agree. So, Councilmember Hanson, go ahead.
One quick question. As we were discussing this and I'm taking a deeper dive into the map and such, my first thought regarding some of these neighborhood projects that are going to be taken on are each of the residents in each of the neighborhoods that are being worked on for that period. How is the communication going to be so that they know, okay, I need to commute this side street out of my neighborhood instead of maybe...
Sure. Yeah, so there's let's all be positive, and this passes in August. Some of the first steps is identifying the first area, and maybe we can tip our hat. North Hagedorn is a pretty good candidate. So we would start with some preliminary design. We'd have public outreach. We'd work on our plans. We would develop detour plans that would be dispersed to the residents. Inevitably, the job will be designed and then bid out, and then there's a number of months during the bidding process, and then we'd have public outreach programs once we've defined what roads are getting worked on. We have dates from the contractor. The contractor says, I'm going to be here April 2023. We'll have a meeting March 2023, 2 weeks beforehand. We'll tell the residents, for the next 2 months, this road is going to be off limits. You're going to have to park in the side streets. You're going to have to walk on the sidewalks to get to your home for these 2 or 3 week periods. So there's plenty of public outreach. Those are the details that are important, and obviously access to your home is a huge thing, and those are the details that would be ironed out as part of the construction process, the design process. Yeah.
Figured I would ask.
Yeah, no, it's, yep.
Well, again, I just want to thank you guys. This is a major deal, and we're in crunch time for this. And so being able to communicate with the residents to stress the importance of this project is vital. And so thank you. You will be hearing from me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate your time.
We'll move on to unfinished business number 2 this evening, intergovernmental agreement amendment.
The City of South Lyon, Lyon Township approved an interlocal agreement in April of 2021 for a new sidewalk on Pontiac Trail in Marjorie Ann. The civil engineering design work was completed, estimates were completed, and the original agreement was approved based upon those estimates. We budgeted $35,000 to pay for our portion of the project. Since that time, we received bids, which are in excess of the original estimates, and rebid the work again in the spring and received favorable bid from a local contractor. Therefore, we have an amendment to the agreement that will now reflects a cost of $50,211.97 to the City of South Lyon, which is account number 101-451-802-190. Documents attached tonight is a letter from the Township Engineer describing the bidding process, an amendment to the interlocal agreement between the City of South Lyon and Lyon Township, and a bid tab from KD Cement for a total project cost of $107,826.49. tonight's possible courses of action are approve or not approve the amendment to the interlocal agreement between the city of South Lyon and Lyon Township to complete the sidewalk and crosswalks at Pontiac Trail and Marjorie Ann. I will state that the agreement for the intergovernmental agreement does recommend that we approve an amount up to $60,000, so we do not have to keep coming back if there were changes to the project cost or if there were amendments that need to be made along the way. So the agreement, the interlocal agreement does say $60,000, but the amount is actually for $107,826.49, which would be split evenly between both entities.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the amendment to the interlocal agreement between the City of South Lyon and Lyon Township to complete the sidewalk and crosswalks at Pontiac Trail and Marjorie Ann from the account number 101-451-802-190.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Kurtzwell. Do we have any further discussion?
One quick question, Mr. Mayor. In looking at, even Google Street View, there were sections of the sidewalk right near Marjorie Ann, near the Healthy Urgent Care. It looks like there isn't even a section of the sidewalk that reaches the street. I was wondering if that was part of the project as well.
Yes, that is.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
I also had an opportunity to speak with Leslie Zawada on this, and I just had a couple of quick questions I wanted to ask her on it. She was absolutely wonderful. She wrote a great letter. I thought she gave a great summary, a really good background of where the project started and where it is today. So I kind of want to thank her for taking the extra time to put that letter together. But the additional question does the sidewalk continue on the other side, on the west side of Pontiac Trail? And yes, it does. So that was one of the big questions.
City Clerk Deaton, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Kurtzwell?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes?
Kibble?
Yes.
Dilg? Yes. Hanson?
Yes.
Mosier?
Yes.
Felchat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 1 this evening, perimeter fencing at the water plant.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. The water treatment plant is nearing its first phase of completion. It has been discovered recently that the city is not required to have 3-strand barbed wire as the initial plans were designed. The initial contract called for a U-shaped section of fencing to be installed to match the current conditions on the site. This new additional fencing would result in a change order to demo the entire perimeter of the 3-strand barbed wire fence currently around the entire plant and install approximately 940 lineal feet of 8-foot-high vinyl-coated commercial-grade fencing to match that which was installed at the water tower on Mill Street in 2019. With the credit and applicable markups, the newly installed fencing could be accomplished for the amount of $60,876.94. The Water Department has obtained quotes that have been enclosed for council review. We did this kind of above and beyond just to see what the general contractor's quotes look like compared to people that were local. This purchase will be made utilizing account 592-452-802, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Councilmember Kennedy.
So Doug, the question I raised to you earlier today is I noticed on the 3 bids, two of those companies bidding on it specified that demo was included, and I appreciate you going back to verify that the demo was also included from future fence as well.
That is correct.
So
Yep.
I appreciate you double checking that, and I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the purchase of the new perimeter fencing for the water treatment plant for $60,876.94 under line item 592.452-802.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Kibble. Do we have any further discussion? Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Yes, Doug, we were speaking about this earlier. The purpose, as I understood it, of the barbed wire was for security issues. And I think at the time, some of that was coming from the government, it could be.
That is correct. Well, it's 10 state standard.
Yeah.
And our engineers have consulted with Eagle due to other projects from other communities, seeing other fences, so to speak, and it was brought to our attention that we didn't have to have the 3-strand barbed wire. It was no longer required. We have implemented other security measures above and beyond, and are going to continue to implement further security measures after. So that's already in the works.
Okay, so I don't want you to, I'm not going to ask you about what those additional security measures are, but for anybody who's interested, is that there are other security measures that are being taken, even though the barbed wire fence is coming down. So you have an ability to enhance security, even though it's not a barbed wire fence. And it's related to the fencing in the perimeter of the area, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Councilmember Hanson, go ahead.
Reading about this project, I like the project, especially since it's not so aggressive. I think there were several resident comments a meeting or two ago where they were concerned about it looking very, prison-like almost. So I definitely appreciate you going down this path. So.
Awesome, thanks.
Councilmember Kibble.
Well, especially since it was so old and rusty, and, I mean, it really was pretty unsightly, so, yeah.
Kind of looked pretty patchwork. It was the manager's suggestion as well. He was instrumental in that, and just saying, hey, is there any way we can make this all match? Like, I don't know, yeah, so this idea's been kicked around months and months ago, so we're here now, so.
This would be a huge improvement.
I'm sorry, real quick. What's the timeline?
There will be about 8 to 10 weeks, and that coincided with other sales for other fencing companies as well.
Okay.
Materials will probably take about 8 to 10 weeks to push the completion date out a little bit farther, obviously. Not to confuse that with the substantial completion date.
All right, if there's no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote?
Hanson?
Yes.
Dilg? Yes. Kurzweil?
Yes?
Kibble?
Yes.
Mosher?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Belchat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 2 this evening, purchase and installation of overhead radiant unit heater at DPW garage.
Thank you very much. The overhead unit heater located at the garage for the DPW, one of the garages, has had a recent failure and will need to be replaced. The current heater has reached the end of its useful life. The operations and maintenance supervisor has met with several companies to discuss the options. 3 quotes have been attached for review. Me and Jeff discussed this. We recommend Lakeside Service as they have already replaced several unit heaters along the way here the last couple of years, as well as the furnace. Recently, you might remember that furnace for the entire admin building, that's been replaced as well by this company. They have provided excellent service and have been very thorough in their installations for the HVAC equipment. 3 quotes have been provided, and I'm here happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Kibble.
Was there any further discussion with them today?
There was, but we're going forward with the amount what we have.
Okay.
So let's leave it at that.
I'll make the motion that we approve the purchase and installation of the new unit heater for the maintenance garage at the Department of Public Works for the amount of $5,478.99 under line item 101-440-931.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote, please?
Dilg? Yes. Hanson?
Yes.
Kurzweil?
Yes.
Kibble?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Mosher?
Yes.
Belchat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. New business number 3 this evening, renewal of contract for assessing services.
We received a new contract from Oakland County to provide assessing services for the city of South Lyon. The rate is $15.31 for a real property parcel and $12.54 for personal property parcels. This contract runs from July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2023. This represents a 4% increase over last year's contract. I've attached a renewal letter and assessing contract from Oakland County, and tonight's possible course of action is to approve or not approve Oakland County to handle assessing-related duties for the city of South Lyon from July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2023, from account number 101-200-802.
Councilmember Kittle.
I make a motion that we approve the one-year contract with People's, I've got the wrong one. Good grief. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. To approve the Oakland County to handle the assessing-related duties for the city of South Lyon. I need to get these. From July 1, 22 to June 30th, 2023. Account number 101-200-802.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kivel, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you again please lead us in a roll call vote?
Kivel?
Yes.
Moser?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Dilg?
Yes.
Kurzweil?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Alchat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. New business number 4 this evening, People's Express contract.
We received a new contract from People's Express. The contract has been updated per the recommendation of our city attorney. They've also added a rider fare increase for the riders going to New Hudson, Walmart, and Ascension Providence only. This charge is from $2 per fare one-way to $4 fare per one-way trip. Materials attached tonight is the updated one-year contract with People's Express and possible course of action to approve or not approve the one-year contract from account number 101-295-802.
Councilmember Kittle.
Simply that I think that this is fair. They've been pretty much taking care of things for a lot lower rate, and they probably need to be made whole. So when you get out of the city, I think the bump is a reasonable thing, so.
I'll make the motion to approve the one-year contract with People's Express to account number 101-295-802.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Hanson. Do we have any further discussion? I'm just going to add that, I would agree with Councilmember Kivel's comments that I think throughout the pandemic, we saw how important this service really is in our community, and the adjustments they've had to kind of make on the fly to try and provide the services that people expect here. So I think it's important that we're supporting this. So with that, we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Hanson. If no one else has anything to add, City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote?
Dilg?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Kurzweil?
Yes.
Kennedy?
Yes.
Kivel?
Yes.
Moser?
Yes.
Alchat?
Yes. Motion passes. New business number 5 this evening, purchase of 95 fire hydrant stores caps? Question mark?
Close, the Storts.
Thank you.
Yep. Currently in the city, there's several fire hydrants that have a double Storts fitting. Your traditional fire hydrants are threaded, so when the air in the fire hydrant is captured in there and you release it by unscrewing the cap, as it loosens up, air escapes. Well, these Storts fittings are what our truck hooks the 4-inch hose to the fire hydrant. So traditionally, you'd have the threads, you put an adapter on there, you have a quarter turn with the Storts. The problem with the Stort's double fittings on the hydrants is because it is a quarter turn and it does seal, you're popping it and they're shooting off at times. Jeff Archie said they had one hit a truck. We've had a few people get hit, and we're worried about, potential injury. So, they are $135 a piece. If we buy 100 or more, they're $120 a piece. So we buy 100 of them at $120 is $12,000 to cover the city. DPW said they would install them.
Councilmember Hanson, go ahead.
I can think of no better way to spend city funds than to protect our city employees, especially our firefighters. When I was reading through this, especially imagining a gasket like this just, shooting out and hitting someone, God forbid if it was a firefighter, but, even a passerby, goodness
Absolutely.
gracious. So what sort of a turnaround time, if we were to approve this, how quick could they be installed, especially since Wednesday it's gonna be over 100? So,
Well, it'll take a few weeks to get them in, and I believe they're going to do it within the next month or two. He believes they'll have them all installed. So it's a pretty quick process once you get them in place.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Here's what I don't understand, and hopefully you can help me out. The Stort's caps are going to remain on the fire hydrants.
Correct.
Okay.
It's part of the fire hydrant. They're built right in.
Okay. So all you're doing is looking for an additional piece of equipment that will be compatible with this Stort's fitting.
It's a new cap, and on the cap, I don't know if you have the picture in front of you.
Yeah.
It's got a little valve you can open to release the air, and you can open it without it popping off.
Well, is there a difference between just a Stort's fitting and a dual Stort's fitting? Because it was my understanding that the Stort's fittings have been around for almost a century.
They have, but they're not generally on fire hydrants, especially on both exits of the hydrant.
So that's the issue, is that it's not normally used on a fire hydrant.
Traditionally, it's a thread on there with a threaded cap, and then the fire department will put an adapter on there. Before they use a hydrant, they'll take the cap off, screw on the adapter, and then quarter turn on the Stort's. But I believe the chiefs a few years ago, it'd probably be faster to skip that step and go straight from the truck to the hose to the hydrant and not have to put the adapter on, and one less thing carrying your truck. But the problem is sealing in the air, and when it's hot outside, it superheats and causes a lot of pressure.
Very interesting. So we put the wrong fitting on the fire hydrant.
I don't know if I'd say it's wrong. I think we had a good intent behind it. It's just that they didn't foresee the superheated gases. I mean, it's not something I would expect, to be totally honest with you. It's to the point where it's shooting off the hydrant.
Yeah, but we've had hot days before, so this had to have been going on for a while. I mean,
It sounds like it has been, yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Just a quick one, is there a restraint from the cap, or on the cap that holds it to the hydrant?
The new ones will have a strap as well.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Councilmember Kennedy?
So I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the purchase of 100 fire hydrant caps from East Jordan totaling approximately, is that going to be 12,000 now?
12,000.
Joey? Okay. From account number 592-540-930.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Hanson. Do we have any further discussion? City Clerk Deaton, could you lead us in a roll call vote?
Kennedy?
Yes.
Moser?
Yes.
Kibble?
Yes.
Dilg?
Yes.
Kurtzweil?
Yes.
Hanson?
Yes.
Halchat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion passes. Thank you, Chief Thornton. With that, we're going to move on to the budget this evening. Do we have anyone with anything on the budget tonight? All right, thank you.
Just have a quick update.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I just have a quick update on the chart of accounts revision. I'm pleased to say the implementation is completed. We're good to go. And so Mary in my office, and I have been working on getting the budget all the GL codes updated. Nothing else will change. Everything else will look the same, description, dollar amounts. It's just those, account codes. So what I would like to request, at the convenience of the council members, if you could turn your budget binders back in to our office at your earliest convenience, Mary and I will put in all of the revised documents and then return them to you as soon as possible. So they'll be ready to go for July. And if anybody has any questions on that or concerns, they can get in touch with me.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I had spoken with you earlier today, the email, and I was just kind of curious, were you able to find out anything further about the concrete, the sidewalk 50/50 thing? Was it determined that it is $20,000?
No, I did not hear back from Jeff on that.
Okay.
So that would
Do you
be
know,
Jeff,
Paul?
our DPW
I
director.
can check. I know we increased it from last year.
Well, I know that there was an increase, but I didn't know if it was because there's some other